I can see the end. Here I am now, I transcend. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. I was searching for answers, they were there all the time, but I just couldn't see them. In my heart I was blind. I believed in your story, now I know it wasn't true. And I see who I am now, and I know what to do. And I'm breathing in, and I'll start again. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. Just turn around and go. I can't do this anymore. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. I want you to know that I let you go. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. I want you to know.
Looks like we scared most people off.
They're doing.
Welcome. Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to all the old people that have been joining us for the last 15 days, or maybe you just tuned in a couple of times. Welcome to all of the new people. This is going to be unlike really any other Zoom call you've ever been on. If this is your first time, divine rising, evening, afternoon, wherever you're coming from. Super excited to be here with you all. Yeah, we have a really interesting day, not planned once again. I literally just got the shower 2 minutes ago. We just had some pretty good Indian food. So yeah, just excited to see what comes through, what downloads we have for you. And yeah, we have a very special guest today. If you don't know who he is, his name is, he goes by in his human form, Don Smith. You'll be able to really hear from him. And yeah, just get ready to get your mind blown off the top of your heads, get ready to lose your intellect, literally lose your mind probably, uh, which I'm hopefully, which I'm grateful that I finally got to lose mine. That thing was just causing me so much suffering. Like, Jesus, praise Jesus. But yeah, really want to figure out where you guys are calling in from. We're streaming. Have we figured out TikTok yet, Will? No. Okay. All right. Well, we got to get on that. We got all the Gen Zs on there. We're live on Facebook. We got YouTube going, LinkedIn. We're obviously here on Zoom. Would love to know where you guys are calling in from. It looks like we already scared a couple of people off, so that's good. We got Vancouver, the Netherlands, California. Welcome, Coach Cola. Good to have you. Yeah, just drop where you're calling in from. We want to figure out where our audience is calling in from. It just helps us figure out just a better demographic. Hong Kong, Colorado Springs, South Africa, awesome. Vancouver, once again. Hey, that's where you guys are from, right? Texas, or I mean, we've been there. Texas in the house. That's where my human body used to reside. Awesome. Yeah, so we really just come from a place of authenticity, and we just share where we're at. So oh, Texas once again, awesome. Arcadia, cool. Florida, beautiful. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and just share a little bit. So we were at the gym earlier, and we were just talking, Jamie and I, and this other guy, which you'll probably get to hear from later. I'm not gonna ruin that. And I was just talking to Jamie because he was telling me a story, and it kind of reminded me, it was only a couple of months ago, which it feels like lifetimes ago, where I was actually married for 4 years. I was in a really super toxic marriage, and I'm even in my past lifetime, I was like a very positive guy, I guess you could say. And it was crazy because they got to a point where I was actually suicidal. Literally, I was in I think it was Penang, Malaysia. I had been traveling for like 6 months with my wife at the time. We were traveling all of Southeast Asia. I took her to Japan, took her to Thailand, all over Malaysia, all over. Well, she never came to me to Indonesia. I went there by myself. And I was in Penang. We were there for a couple of days, and the crazy thing is like, I don't know if you guys have heard, but like, I shared my story a couple of times, and for the last 12 years, actually, I was abusing marijuana. And I never told you guys the story actually, so this will be brand new. And so we flew into Penang, and it was so bad, the addiction, to where, in Malaysia, like, you can actually almost get like the death penalty for marijuana. And it was so bad that what I did is, like, it's so smart. And so, I got like a pack of cigarettes, and I like rolled up a couple of joints, and I put them in the cigarette box to sneak them in. And luckily I didn't get in trouble at that time. And we went to because we were going to get a visa to basically extend our trip in Thailand, because we were staying in Thailand and Phuket. And I must have lost the cigarette pack that had the plant drugs in the taxi. And so I basically realized that I didn't have my cigarette box with the plant drugs. And what was interesting is, like, I started having the craziest panic attacks, and for the first time in my life, I actually had suicidal thoughts. Like, we were staying on like the top, like, it was like the 48th floor, and I was super unhappy in the marriage. I knew that, and the only way I was actually surviving, and that was kind of what's fueling the addiction as well, was to smoke weed or do edibles or whatever. And I literally, for the first time in my life, had suicidal thoughts. And I'm like, dude, I just want to jump off this fucking building. And that was only a couple months ago. And I share this with you because literally life can change in an instant. And so someone's probably on this call, you're probably like dealing with something similar, whether it's a sex addiction, which I had that too, which I realized that today. Maybe alcohol, whatever it might be, right? And it's really what it is that you're chasing this feeling. You're chasing a feeling of wanting freedom to be yourself. And that's what suicidal thoughts is, that you're tired of playing that character. You're tired of playing in that that little avatar, that human form. You want to finally be your authentic self, which is really what we're doing here at I Am Divinity. We're here to really help you unlock that freedom within, because even the addiction to money, making money, that was another thing, right? I was addicted to building businesses, and like would never be able to take a break and actually enjoy the present moment. And now, thanks to this process, thanks to Mr. Don Smith, literally every single moment is magical. Like if you just were able to kind of be a fly on the wall and see how we live our life, literally I would say 90% of it is laughter. It's joy. It's eternal bliss. And that's what we want for you guys and girls, or humans, whatever you want to identify as. And so we're really, really excited to share this with you all. And, obviously the financial piece is a part of it. And we do have the best financial products, whether it's the crypto fund that we have, whether it's the Forex fund. And we're the only ones that actually have those things. But we didn't want to be another financial company because there's like a billion of those things, right? Like there's so many. And none of them are actually legit. So our mission here is to give you true freedom within. So that way, all of the other things, they just naturally fall into place, whether it's the relationships, whether it's the money, whether it's the health. And you're going to hear some stories today. I don't know what stories, because it's literally different every single time. So want to just kind of put that on the table, allow you guys to digest that, and kind of set it up for you to realize what is possible, what happened to me personally, and what's possible for you. So with that being said, I just want to bring on our CEO, Mr. Jamie Devine. If you don't know who he is, I mean, I can't put him into words. I can't put Mr. Don Smith into words. Literally, ineffable beings. And if you don't know what the word ineffable means, it means a feeling so great or extreme that you can't put them into words. You can't put them in a box. And like I used to try to like edify them, but really I'm just gonna let them bring their presence to you, and you can take what you wish. So with that being said, we'd like to invite Mr. Jamie up here.
Is that me?
That's you.
Okay.
Oh.
What day are we on?
15.
15. Wow. Unfamiliar faces. I saw Audet. Great to see you. It's been a minute. And Janet, welcome to the call as well. So, just going to share where we're at here, because I cannot say the same thing twice. I just get bored. So my name is Jamie, and I'm a recovering narcissist. So funny enough, the very first time I worked with Don, he told me just directly that you're a narcissist. My initial instinct as a narcissist was, fuck you, Don, you're the narcissist. I don't even know what narcissist means, but I know it's not me. I'm going to look it up and find all the reasons that I can pin to you, because I know that can't be me. So that was my beginning with Don Smith. And then shortly after, it was our second time working together. I actually got to the core of the narcissism. It was all subconscious before, and come to find out, the stepfather I had, who, if you looked up narcissist in the dictionary, there would definitely be like a full poster of him. Made a lot of sense that, hey, if I grew up around this guy before the age of reason, I must have took on that energy. And I remember being with Don on the ocean, on the rocks, and he pinpointed it, and there was just this intense knot in my stomach that just like was so painful. And I told him, like, Don, like, this hurts, man, this hurts. He's like, yeah, just let it go, like, let it be. I'm like, yeah, you don't know, this is like a knife to the stomach. Anyway, he got through that, and Don proceeded to tell me that I was the first narcissist he had ever worked with that was able to overcome that. I had him make a video. I said, Don, I need a testimonial of that at least. Like, so here's Don saying, yeah, I worked with Damien, and he's the first narcissist I worked with that was able to get over it. So here we are. Let's see. What was I telling you guys at the gym? Because that was a pretty good one for them. Oh, yeah. So after all of that, Don and I are working together literally every day. So let's go back to 2016 when I first discovered Don. It was two mutual connections. I was in the entrepreneur world, you know, trying to build my businesses so I'd finally be worthy and my mom would be proud of me. And met the top two entrepreneurs in the city. There were separate connections, Jason and Darren. And Jason had this Kickstarter, he called it, incubator for entrepreneurs. So I came to the opening night of that, and Don was the guest speaker. And I remember he called up a lady to use as an example, and I had no idea what he was doing. He's like, had this red and black puck, and is like doing muscle tests, like their arms. Like, I had no clue what he was doing, but I'm like, whatever this guy has, like, I need this. Because at that time I had done 15 years of personal development, all of Tony Robbins programs, all of, like, even going into Abraham Hicks. I moved down to California. I went to the Yogananda, like, I tried it all. I was in the church all the time, reading the Bible every day. I went to the Buddhist temple. I went to the mosque. I mean, like, seriously, I was trying to find the answer. And as Nua said, oh, shit. I mean, our whoever showed up today flew in from Utah, and you'll meet him in a second. And I totally blew the surprise, but there you go. So he flies in. He says, "I'm here for my divinity," and I said, "Nua, you didn't have to go so far to get it." You know, like, you just had to, you know, close your eyes, do your divine focus. But that was me. I was searching everything outside. And anyway, when I saw Don, he was different than anyone I have ever met, and I knew I wanted that. Come to find out, at the time, he was tens of thousands of dollars to work with, and I didn't have that. So ego right away, well, you can't do it. And then Jason, at the end of that event, said, I'm going to sponsor someone in the room tonight to work with Don. And I thought, that's me. Like, that's me. I don't care what I got to do. He didn't even say what you got to do. There was no requirements or anything, but he said, I'm going to choose someone. And so I had never spoke to Jason before, but next thing you know, I'm chasing him around all night in this 2-hour, like, cocktail event. I mean, there wasn't drinks, but whatever you want to call it, little networking event. And I'd go up to him, hey, Jason, man, like, I want to talk to you about Don's program. And yeah, I'm too busy, and come see me later after the event. So he came and saw him after the event. Yeah, sorry, man, like, I got too much going on here. Come see me tomorrow at my office. I said, okay, I'll be here in the morning. So I show up 8 a.m., sit down in Jason's office, and he asked me one question. He says, okay, so why should I sponsor you? And man, I started like since birth, my life story. It must have been like 20 minutes long. I tell Jason everything. And at the end of it, he's just like, yeah, I'm choosing you. I'm choosing your sponsor. I'm sponsoring you to work with Don. And I was like over the hill excitement at that point. So now I'm chasing. I don't even know if Don knows this full story. He's looking at me like maybe he just doesn't remember, because when you're in the other realm so much, you don't remember your name usually. So so I'm following up with Jason. Hey man, like really want to work with Don. Like when can we do this? What do I got to do? Blah blah blah. And he kept just pushing me aside, and next thing you know, he's not even responding to me. And that was like a very low point, because I had already hit a very low point. Like Sam, I was smoking weed every day just to get a little glimpse of maybe what I'm supposed to feel like, and maybe who I really am. The weed was like the tool to get there, and that wasn't doing it. It would last about first 2 hours, and then an hour, and then 20 minutes, and next thing you know, I got to smoke 4 times a day just to feel anything. So that didn't work. But I then get introduced to Don again from another mutual friend, Darren. So Darren, he had this financial company at the time, and he was like my mentor for this financial company. And Darren said, "This Don guy is my mentor." I'm like, "Oh, Don, like, yes, I need to meet, like, I want to work with him. Like, if I can work with you, I'll stay in your company, Darren, just to work with this guy." And so we take a group of us of the company over to Don's home, and there's maybe 8 to 10 of us. And I had never been in a home so majestic. Like, it was just like all windows on this cliff overlooking the ocean. And aside from all that, because I had seen people with money before, I'd been around them, Don had like the brightest light I had ever seen, and everyone just wanted to connect with Don and talk to Don. And anyway, Don wrote a couple books, and one of them he had with him, Internal Perfection, and he signs the book and gives it to me, and we have a 1 minute interaction in his kitchen. He had one of those Kangen water machines, and at the time I was a top distributor in Kangen water. I had built myself up to the top leadership rank. I went from not having much money to now like in this 2-level penthouse, and yeah, still depressed, smoking all the weed and everything. But everyone else was praising me for this title and this business that I was doing. And I said, Don, that's my business, man. Like, that's what I do, those machines. And this is the first sentence out of Don's mouth. He says, "Yeah, you're a lot better than that." And it absolutely crushed me at the time, because I thought this was the best thing in the world. I was going to do it for the rest of my life. My whole identity was wrapped up in it. And he was just like, in one sentence, totally deflated that whole situation. And I'm like, fuck, like, he's right. Like, but what the fuck else am I gonna do? Anyway, so I go back. I'm reading this book, and of course, I don't know how to get over my toxic pattern. So I'm smoking weed, reading this book, and I still don't understand it. Like, like, just trying to get there. And Jason ends up just falling off the map, not sponsoring me. But with Darren in the company, Darren was getting mentored by Don. So now I reached out to Don directly with one of the company emails. I said, Don, like, I want to do your program, man. And he just replies with, "Sorry, Jamie, I'm not with Global Access Capital anymore." I'm like, fuck. Like, again? Like, seriously, what the hell do I got to do this program? So at that time, the ego is just like, yeah, no, like, you don't have the money, and nothing's working, and you're not going to be able to do this. And so I let it go. And I had then got rid of all of my stuff in Vancouver. Couldn't do that water business anymore. Didn't know what I was going to do. Went down to Mexico, and it was just like clean slate, trying to figure life out. Next thing you know, this Forex stuff comes in, and I'm like, well, maybe if I travel the world, right? I haven't done that yet. Maybe that will satisfy my void. So sure enough, I start traveling the world. I go down to Panama, then I go to Colombia, and then I go to Philippines. And of course, all along the while, still got those toxic programs, even though I'm doing all this fun stuff. Now I had a more of a reason to do the alcohol and the weed. And even coming to the Philippines, and Will can remember, we had a house here in the Philippines, and we were working together at the time. That's when we met, 2019. And just like Malaysia, super illegal weed in the Philippines. Like if you get caught with it, what, prison for life, is it? Yeah, prison for life. Okay. This is how addicted me and Josh Willamant was there, and Sloan was there, and this is how addicted we were. We were willing to risk going to prison for life to get our little hit, our little high once a day, because we had no freaking clue how to get it naturally or any other way. So, whoa. Yeah, here's the fire hose. Must be the Indian. I'm feeling fired up. It's a little spicy. Awesome. I didn't know if you're with us. That's awesome, Josh. Yeah, you remember. Josh can attest to my my, what is this, a confession? I'm feeling lighter already. So anyway, now lockdown happens. And remember, the one addiction I was holding on to was the, what about the landlord trying to kill us? Yeah, that's right. So we move out of the Philippines house. The landlord, who's like a police officer, finds little traces of weed because, I mean, we're smoking it every day for 6 months. I think we lived there. It was everywhere. We were trying to play dumb. Oh, I don't know. It must have been one of the Filipinos that came over, you know? Like just trying to, like, oh, if you ever come back to the Philippines, like we're make sure you, like, we're gonna get you, you know. Yeah, that's how they roll in the Philippines. Either you're going to jail for life or you're getting killed, like one of the two. So anyway, lockdown happens. Josh, Sloan, and I are in Jakarta, Indonesia, and we were just on our way back to Philippines. And sure enough, right before the weekend before we were going to go there, the airport closed, right? Like the whole world's closing down. I need to remind all of you, you know why. And of course, it's because everyone was terrified of dying for breathing. Could you imagine? So I remember Josh had a literal like gas mask. It was so big. Like it was one of those, if you like radioactive, remember that, Josh? That big radioactive mask that you needed to make sure you didn't die. And here I was, I'm like screw it, man. Like I'm willing to feed my addiction of travel. I'm willing to try. Like I don't care. I don't care about this COVID thing. So I'm out here going to 5-star like hotels because they were 60% off in Indonesia. Everyone's staying home, and I was the only one there. They all knew me by name because, like, seriously, I was the only one stupid enough to be traveling. But I didn't care, and I was like, this thing feels like a sham, anyways. So whatever. Anyway, we can't go back to Philippines. It's locked down. Now I go back to Mexico because it's the only place you can get in at that time without like getting, you know, shot with poison and all that. So I go to Mexico and I'm hanging out, and I get this video message on my Facebook wall. Like directly on my Facebook wall is a video of Don, and he's just singing some random song. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. So I thought, do I have his number? And I, at that point, I was in so much pain. I didn't care. I was like, I got to do anything. So I didn't let the ego come in with like, oh, well, maybe, you know, it's still super expensive and you don't have the money to do it. And, you know, all that. I just called Don because I had his number from before. This is the first time we had ever talked. And I say, Don, we got to meet, man. And he's like, yeah, I was just working with my cousin, and you know, these bubbles were popping, and I'm like, what in the fuck is this guy saying? I don't care. I got to meet up with him. So he says, well, when are you in Vancouver next? I thought, well, like as soon as I can. So I hang up the phone. I look for a flight, and there was one token flight because everything was closed down through California for the night into Vancouver. It was on Friday that I called him, and that was a flight for Sunday. So I book it. I'm literally one of 4 people on the entire plane. Like no one's flying. And they put me up in first class, and I'm like, you know, having my champagne and everything, and doing Instagram stories. People are like, how are you traveling? It's crazy. So anyway, I tell Don, okay, when can we meet next week? And he said, well, when do you land? And I said, well, 11. And he said, okay, how about 12? Okay, sweet. I don't need to waste any time. Let's go. So we meet up, and I'm still thinking, like, I don't know what the requirements are going to be. I don't know if he's going to charge me for this program. I'm willing to just show him everything I got in the bank at this point and let him have it. Like, that was where I was at. And I had also told his assistant at the time, Masood, that I could, like, I didn't know what he had, but I knew it was something special, and I knew I could help with all the marketing and everything. And I was getting sick of all the money programs and all that. So it was like a perfect timing, perfect match. And then Masood went to Don and said, I don't know, this guy seems really serious, and I think he can help us with marketing and all that. So Don was like, oh, let's take a chance on this guy. And I show up, and he told me not to sleep the night before. And I go through the program, and and he's just asking me these questions, and he's nailing me with this and that. I'm like, oh, this is all truth, but I don't even have any energy to fight this guy. And next thing you know, boom, it happens that 1 second. And it was like all of the weed and all of the alcohol and all of the sex and everything put into a package, and boom, explosion into my being. It was like, holy shit, I don't need anything external because this internal high is ridiculous. And then I got super creative. Well, I should say the ego used my creativity against me. And what the ego proceeded to do after Don and I were working every day is said, well, man, like, you're doing so much now. Look how far you come in just a couple weeks. And I mean, you got to celebrate a little bit. So like, you're now in Vancouver, weed isn't illegal. You could go to the store and get it. I mean, come on, man, just like have a little bit, have a little fun. Oh, okay. I'll try it, maybe see how, how it affects me now that I'm in my light. Let's see what happens. So sure enough, plan to just try it once. And next thing you know, for a good 10 solid days, I'm smoking nonstop every day, like literally nonstop, more than I used to, because it didn't satisfy me at all like it used to. I couldn't get there. So now I was just like chasing this external thing that, like, I literally could have just closed my eyes in my divine focus and I wouldn't have needed it. But hey, that's what the ego does, right? It takes you on a wild goose chase. So I remember I was like comatose in the bathtub, and Don's reaching out, calling me, like, where's this dude? He hasn't answered my text for a week. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, everything's fine. I'm like, trying not to respond. And after I wake up from all that, Don's like, okay, dude, like, we can't be doing this anymore. Like, let's just go separate ways. I'm like, no fucking way am I letting this guy go, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll stop all the bullshit. This is stupid. Don, I need your help. Like, get me back there. Sure enough, get back there. Lasted for another few months. Now I'm on my way back down to Mexico. I say, Don, come down to Mexico. Like, we can do the mission from Mexico. And he's like, calls me the next day because he didn't even know if that was a real invitation or not. He's like, were you serious about that? I'm like, dude, are you serious about that? Like, if you're serious, I'm serious. 110% I want you down. So he ends up coming down to Mexico. Now we're working together every day. And we were living across the street from each other. So we had 2 homes there in Cabo San Lucas. And it got to the point that the ego had twisted me up so much that it started finding any little thing wrong with Don, because Don was the only source, like the only guide I had to get there. Who else was going to get me back there? All of the other programs I'd ever tried, like call my family, hey, can I get some advice from the ego? Like, not gonna happen, right? So the only way the ego could get me fully out of my light is to find things wrong with Don so that I stopped connecting and communicating with them. So I remember this one moment, we were working on things, and Don gets pretty frustrated with technology, and now I know why, because when you're in the other realm, it's like, what the hell, numbers? Like, what is this? So he comes to me, he's like, hey, I need some help with this thing on the computer. And I was like, just getting frustrated. I'm like, man, I'm not your freaking assistant, like, figure it out type thing, right? So he grabs this, it was like a salt and pepper shaker, like this glass shaker, and he throws it on the ground and it smashes. And first of all, like totally woke me up out of this hypnosis. But then secondly, I used that now. Like I was like, oh, see, Don definitely isn't this, light being that he pretends to be, because he just got angry at me and smashed this, So I held on to that for like a good, I don't know, couple of weeks, to the point again where Don was like, "Okay, dude, like we can't keep doing this. Like you're barely talking to me anymore." And I'm like, "Okay, let's have a chat." So I come over across the street, and he pulls out he used to have these pucks where he would show you the ego, the black and red puck, to show you that this is the negative beliefs of yourself, this is the positive beliefs of yourself, which at the time I thought was, where you want to be. But both of them are two sides of the same coin. They're both the ego, right? And so he's trying to bring me back with these pucks, and I literally like can't even look at it because I think he's just trying to hypnotize me. Like that's how twisted I was at this point. I was like, I can't even. I can barely talk to him. I'm not looking. Like, fuck you, Don. Like this sucked. Like I'm not. I'm done. So I was like holding on by a thread because my intuitives, like my real self, knew all the experience that I went through, but still how twisted I got. So next thing you know, Marty, who we had over the other day on the call, I used to call him Party Marty because every time I would see him, we were partying. And so he was now coming down to Mexico. And so he was like, "Hey, like, do you got a place to stay?" And I'm like, "Well, like, Don's in the other house. I'm in this." I was like, and he was like, "Well, like, I'll pay you rent and everything." And I was like, "Okay, this is a good excuse to get Don out of the house. Like, this is how it was going down." So now Marty takes Don's place from across the street, and Don goes and finds another place and starts working with other people. And um, this went on for about 3 weeks. So Marty's living there. I'm going over to see Marty now instead of Don. And instead of talking about the divinity and working on that, now Marty's cracking a beer at 11 a.m. and it's not stopping until the end of the night. And I'm like, fuck it, like, let's go. So, and I shared yesterday of how that took me from, okay, I'll just have a beer with Marty, to literally 2-3 weeks of binge drinking, to the point where I thought I was going to die. Like I came home, I didn't know how I got there. I thought, man, there's multiple ways I could have died last night. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what the fuck am I doing? And the only thing I could do at that point was forget everything the ego was telling me and call the only person I knew that could help me. So I reached out to Don. "Hey man, can we meet?" And he said on his side, he was like, "Fuck this guy, like seriously, another round of this bullshit." But sure enough, he didn't listen to that either, and he met up on the pier, the marina. And the first thing I did when I saw him is I just gave him a big hug. And he was like, "Okay, maybe the narcissist has gone away. Maybe there's something here." And we go to the end of the pier, and in 8 minutes, Don does his magic, and boom, I'm back in it. And I share that with all of you because I was literally, the ego had me so twisted after going through Don's program that it was creatively finding ways, like Sam was saying, for suicide. I was creating suicide, but in a way that I didn't have to take responsibility. I was doing it in the way of the binge drinking and the, driving home drunk and like all the crazy shit that you keep that up and you're going to die real quick. But that I didn't have to take the responsibility, like, "Hey, I killed myself." It's like, oh no, fucking what an accident, right? Like, seriously. So speaking of how ridiculous the ego is, we got a new video to share with some of you. Haven't seen it. Actually, all of you haven't seen the second clip. So I got this friend Joshua, okay? And Joshua, when I met him, he had been in a car accident about 3 years prior. Doctors told him he would never walk again. And next thing you know, after some rehab and whatever, he's in this walker. And all the way up until I met him, he was in this walker. He flew down to Mexico. I had to carry him on my shoulder into the ocean to experience the ocean for the very first time. Because he couldn't go anywhere without the walker, like his legs would just give out. And it took him a year to build up the courage to meet with Don. And finally, Don was on his way out of Vancouver to come to Mexico. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, this is your last chance. Like, we don't know when Don will be back in Vancouver, like, seriously. So Joshua ends up doing the program. And the very next day, I'll show you the video clip here. He's sprinting. He throws his walker and he's sprinting on a field. And then he's carrying his walker and he's jogging on the deck, on the pier, saying, "Oh, it's just a construct of the mind." Like, just crazy shit. Can you show that? And then I'll finish what happened to Joshua. Yeah, show the first one. Can they hear that? Did you guys hear the audio there or no? Okay, no. Back to the start. I mean, you don't really need the audio. That's ridiculous. They still can't hear it though. Huh? Yeah, whatever. Go to the other one with the on the deck. Yeah, that's not the right one. Oh yeah. Yeah, here we go. I love this one.
Construct of the mind.
Construct of the mind. Okay, so the reason I show you Joshua is because not too long after that, what does he do? Imagine, after going years trying everything, right? His best friend's dad was a pastor. He goes to the church. He's getting prayed on for years. He did it all, the rehabs, all of it. And the only thing that worked was Don's process. And a few weeks later, or maybe a month or two, can't remember the timeline, he blocks me on social media, stops communicating with Don. And I literally never even got that video until just a couple months ago when our other mutual friend, Josh Quay, went through the process. So Josh Quay recorded that video and both of them didn't even share it. Like, absolutely crazy. And now he's back in his walker. Like, how do you explain that? But it's no different than what the ego did to me to twist and turn. But imagine like running and then the ego convincing you that no, you're actually still a victim and you actually need the walker. Wild. So many of you have seen the consciousness scale, the 0 to 1,000. And the last couple of days, we've really been hammering the intellect, which is the ego, which is the mind. And the best way that, first of all, in the scale, the intellect maxes out at 400. So everything we've been taught to learn and read and get all the knowledge and build the intellect, get smarter and smarter, go to school for 15 years and all of that, it's all feeding the intellect. And many of you have done spiritual programs or religion programs or lots of personal development, like Sam and I were addicts. And the reason why those don't work is because they have the languaging, some of them, but again, it's all in the intellect. So we're talking 400 out of 1,000. That's 40% of who you actually are. So even if you max out, like Sam and I did, the intellect, you're still operating at 40%. There's still a huge governor, like a huge block. And I was hitting our friend that showed up today on that, because you can just hear it in the languaging. When you're outside of the intellect, you can hear everyone's talking about the mind and the mindset and the learning and the taking notes and the all this. And I shared with our friend that it's like the intellect is a fishbowl. And so many of you, like us, lived in the fishbowl for our entire lives. And now these crazy guys with pink and purple suits come along and they're trying to tell you about the ocean, but you've never experienced it. All you know is your fishbowl. And you're like, dude, you're crazy. I tried to freaking go like 2 feet and I can't. Like, there's definitely a barrier there. And we're trying to tell you, like, no, there's an ocean. We've been there, and so have you. You just forgot about it. And then if you're really strong-willed and a narcissist like I was, then you build up the personal development, and now maybe you got your own big fish tank, right? Like, and you're like, what do you mean? I got the biggest tank in the city. Like, seriously, this must be the answer. But I found out real quick it's not. And then some crazy guy with blue eyes comes along and tells you, hey man, like, here's the ocean, like, come see for yourself. And then you experience the ocean, and then anyone in the fishbowl that tries to tell you the ocean doesn't exist, you're like, and they're fighting with you. They're like, oh, well, that's just your opinion. There's an ocean. My belief is that there is just a fishbowl. And you're like, okay, dude, well, this isn't a belief. This is a absolute knowing, because I was just swimming in the ocean this morning, So I trust I'm going to bring on our special guest here, Mr. Don Smith. He's in the house. Don't know how much longer. He'll probably in the middle of the night go to the mountains as usual. So I won't take any more time, but I wanted to really lay that out for you guys of how just absolutely crazy the ego can be if you don't follow someone who's mastered it, like a guide. Don will tell you himself, like, I don't give you anything, like, I'm not teaching you anything. I'm not coaching you, you're not learning anything. I'm just bringing you to the frickin' ocean, dude, so you can see it for yourself, And like I said, once you experience it, game over. You no longer want to live in the ego intellect, but it will do everything in its power, as I laid out, to get back in. Did you get the chart? Oh, sweet. Okay. So this is just 2 days ago, hot off the press, and then I'll bring Don on. So the consciousness scale that goes to 1,000, and when Don and I started on the journey a couple of years ago, it was the mission to 700. Right? We had seen people were experiencing 700 after the process. And just to put that in perspective, Dr. Hawkins, who created the scale, said the average human, keyword human, only raises 5 points in a lifetime. 5 points in a lifetime. And the average population right now on Earth, 85% of the population is below 200. 85%. So imagine calling your friends for some advice on this crazy IAMDIVINITY program. They're going to give you some 150, 100, maybe 200 advice. Maybe 400 if they're super smart. But they can still only tell you about the fishbowl or the fish tank. They have zero clue how to guide you to the ocean. So we find this chart beyond the chart. Okay. So we were now playing in this realm of 1,000, and as always, this shows up just as we were getting there, so that it wasn't like, okay, we're done now, like game over, nowhere to evolve now. we get slapped with this in the face, and it's like, haha, you guys are playing at 1,000, 50,000 archangel. And then the supreme Godhead, infinity, okay? Infinity. So now we're talking about the true realms of the ocean, and that's like if you've only experienced the surface of the ocean, and then it's like who knows how deep that goes to infinity. Yeah, wow is right, Janet. So I don't have anything other to say except for super grateful to not be a narcissist anymore and not be a sex addict, caffeine addict, weed addict, alcohol addict, travel addict, money addict. Oh, you didn't see that one coming, did you? Personal development addict. Yeah, I could keep going. Anyone that's been around me knows that I don't have any of those anymore now. So going to introduce the only guy that I know in the world right now that has a process for you to do it too. So Don, take it away. My jacket off. Maybe have some more Indian. And go back in my room and divine focus so I can get to 50,000.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's probably morning wherever you are, whatever, different times. And what you just heard from Jamie is what I experience with people half the time. And it's crazy. You know, Jamie mentioned about being in this divine light, and then the ego convinces them something about me, figure something out that they can turn that against me to have the reason to leave. Yeah, the figured outs, yeah. And so just as Jamie was talking, I was reminiscing and thinking about some of the crazy stories of what happened to people. And Joshua is one of the ones. And in his case, we actually had a video because who's going to believe that? Like, who's going to, in the 3D world, believe that a person can go from being in a walker, whatever those are, and then all of a sudden just start running, sprinting in the park? Like, who's going to believe that in those realms? And I've got tons and tons of stories, and whether they're having to do with our financial, like crazy financial stories. When I used to work with a major corporation, multi-billion-dollar corporation, and I ran into all of it because what happened was the co-CEO took my process and how that worked, and Jamie alluded to some things. So here I am. I'm in Vancouver, and I knew about this Dick Sokol that worked on the PGA, and I wanted to work with athletes. And the reason I wanted to work with athletes is because I had some pretty staggering results that happened. So I have to back up a little bit. I was in Calgary at the time, and I spent a whole hockey season trying to get the Calgary Flames to take my process. And I met with them probably 8 times. And finally they said, no, it's just, basically they were saying it's too weird. It's just too weird, it's too out there. So that was on a Thursday. And that was the Calgary Flames. And so I called the Edmonton Oilers, and they were trying to catch up to the Calgary Flames because one of them was going to be out of the playoffs. The playoffs were coming. And so I I sent a text or something. I don't know exactly what it was I sent. And I sent it directly to Glenn Sather, who was the general manager. And anyway, at noon on Friday, I get this call. And it's from Glenn Sather. So, Mr. Smith, you think you can help our team, do you? I said, no, Glenn, I know I can. Oh, you're pretty cocky. I said, well, come on, Glenn. Like, if I know what I can do. And yes, I can. Okay, well, listen, I got this player. His name is Dougie Waite, and he's been off for 3 months with these injuries, and he's been back, and he hasn't played a good game. How long is it going to take you? I said, oh, if he's open, Glenn, about 2 hours. And he said, what? Yeah. No. Oh, listen, you'll be here at Edmonton 3 today. I said, Glenn, I'll be in Edmonton 3 today. So hopped on a plane, go to Edmonton, and here I meet Dougie Waite. And he's the assistant, but he's the leader of the Edmonton Oilers. And he hadn't played a good game in the last 3 months because he had been off for injuries and back and all of that. And and Dougie had no idea, just like Jamie talked about, like no idea. No one has ever heard any of what I'm talking about and what I do with pro athletes, not just pro athletes, but athletes, because I work with 15 different sports. When I'm talking about pro sports, I'm talking about NHL, NBA, NFL, CFL, Olympic skiers, like just it was 15 different sports. And so here's Dougie, and what I do is I have I'm sorry. Oh, road racing. Let me see. There was something. Oh, yes. I was on Indianapolis 500. I forget what that's called, but yeah, the Indianapolis 500. I worked with a race car driver, and so that was pretty cool as well. And what I loved about the sports is just like you see these 3 panels behind me, and one of the panels is I extract the coding, what Jamie's talking about, of their worst game or their worst run or their worst whatever, like the Olympic swimmer. Like once again, I'm talking about 15 different sports at a pro Olympic level. And so the first one is their very worst game. And it's like it's been a while since I did it, so I think it's about 25 questions, and I'm extracting how they see, how they create these states, like Jamie's talking about. And so it's the very worst game. Then I get them into their average game. Same questions, totally different answers. And then on the third one over here, and it's like, that's their very, very best Hummer game. Like it was just boom. And I extract that. And then I show them the coding of each. I do a muscle test. So I get them to hold out their arm. And the first one where it's their worst game, I can take my pinky finger to a pro athlete and go like that. Pinky finger. And I do that to extract, like to blow their mind at how powerful they think they are. And my pinky finger can put their arm down. And they're like, what just happened? What just happened? And then I do the average one. And it's kind of okay, you know, there's some okayness to it. But then I do their very, very best game. The one, maybe they only had one game. Maybe they only had a half in a hockey, like one period, but it's enough. And the coding is completely and totally different. All the answers, there's not one even remotely close to the other two states. So then I show them what it is that they can do and what it is, how they can be in this state. So then, like Jamie, he was wrestling back and forth, you do this and all of that. Well, here's your strategy right here. And it's enough to, yeah, I'm doing it, Don. Okay, let's do this. And so coming back to this Dougie Waite, and he had been off for 3 months for an injury, and he was back and hadn't played a good game. And so I met him in the Edmonton Oilers Stadium, whatever it was called at the time. And 2 hours later, he said, Don, I gotta go, man. I got a game at 7 tonight. So this was at 3. So now it's 5. Said, okay, Dougie, like just give me a few minutes here, and I just tie it all up and away we go. And he goes on the ice, and that was the best game of the season. He had 2 goals and an assist. And Glenn Sather comes to me and he says, I don't know what you did with my buddy Dougie. No, sorry, that was, I mixed him up with someone else. The next guy was Billy Guerin. And I'm walking through the Edmonton Oilers dressing room. And this guy comes up to me and he says, I don't know what in the hell you did with my buddy Dougie, but I want the same. And I said, and who are you? I'm Billy Guerin. And that was here was the 2 boys, the 2 best on the team. And what was happening was it was 10 games. It was either 10 or 12 games that were left in the season. And Calgary was 5 points behind, ahead of them. Now, for any of you into sports, like that's almost like climbing Mount Everest, to think that that's a possibility. Well, they just took off. What happened was after I worked with Dougie, then Billy saw it and I worked with Billy. And all of a sudden, they're both flying. And now Glenn Sather, well, I have to tell this part. It's so I work with Dougie. Just okay. I'll show you, Glenn. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to. He was the top for the longest time GM in the NHL. That's who I was dealing with. And finally, and when I did that, he said, "Yeah, okay, well, work with the rest of the team." I said, "Yeah, I will, Glenn, as soon as we figure out a financial answer." And he said, no, just go do it. And I said, Glenn, no, this is what I want. I'm not paying you that. And he went back and forth. I said, okay. And then he said, you just get the hell on a plane and go back to Calgary. And I said, yeah, okay. And okay, well, I'm sure we can figure out something. And I said, yeah, and we're going to do it right now because I'm not working with another one until we do. And so we worked out this deal, and now there's 7 guys lined up. And they ended up, they got into the playoffs with 2 games left. And the thing I liked about it was that there's the instant result. It shows up like with Dougie. We started at 3, we're finished at 5. He was on the ice at 7, and there's the best game. He took it from me rewiring, not rethinking. It was a rewiring of his nervous system and the coding. It wasn't, oh, let me see, I'm going to meditate about this. No, it was none of that. And like Jamie said, like when I got all of this done, like the 3 states, and I got Dougie to stand in the 1 and did the arm test, then the 2, arm test, and then the 3, and I literally could do chin-ups on that arm. Literally. And so it was like, there's the proof. And athletes are notorious for keeping everything inside and don't tell anybody, and like all of that. And here it was, and it was so exciting. And so that was in 1999. And I worked with 6 different hockey teams in the NHL. But one of the ones that stood out for me, I ended up meeting, let me see, it's the Miami Heat. And oh God, what's the guy's name? The coach, Pat Riley. And I met his wife, and she said, you know, Pat's going to kill himself. He's going to have a heart attack. You got to work with him. So I go and I work with him, and he said, okay, well, there's one player I need you to work with. Oh yeah, who's that? Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille, okay, okay. So he sets it up for me to work with Shaquille O'Neal. And I walk into this big dressing room. This guy is sitting on the chair, and I'm looking up. Like, that's the size of this Shaquille O'Neal. I'm looking up at him sitting in this chair. And I just say that because of I love working with the athlete, because all those things that Jamie is talking about this didn't happen and this guy's a quack and all of these kind of things, that's like there's no way to argue with that. But with the pro athlete, it happens. Like, there it is. It's boom, there it is. And the proof is in their face. It's in their face. And there's no way to argue and twist and whatever. And so that's why I really love the athlete one, because I'm not into, did that work? And, you know, is there anything different? I can't tell the difference and all of that, even though some of them are literally staggering. And I'll share a few from different genres, like the one of his name is Jim Balsley, and he was the co-CEO. And what happened was with Jim, I was working with a pro athlete. He was on the PGA, and I actually was on the PGA working with this Canadian golfer, Ian Leggett. And what happened was, he was in his last days as a PGA player, because he had missed so many days over his career from injury, one injury after the other, and hardly ever making, for those of you that may not know, you have 2 days, like Thursday, Friday, and then there's the cut to make it to Saturday, Sunday. And so Ian was hardly ever making the cut. Well, actually, he wasn't making the cut. He was not making the cut. And he had all these injuries and whatever, and all the reasons why. And so I work with him. And the next thing you know, he's in the playoff on Sunday. On Sunday, he's in the playoff almost immediately. And this is how this evolved, this process, and my working around the world with different people. This Jim Balsley was a friend of this Ian Leggett, because they were both from Ontario. And all of a sudden, here's this Ian is in the playoffs on the weekend on Sunday. Okay, what in the hell's going on with you? What happened? Like, what's going on? How did you shift this? This Don guy in Vancouver. And so he calls me. Okay. Yeah, I got this going on. Can you deal with this? Yeah. How about this? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I got this and this. Yeah. Okay, now listen. I've had this going on for 5 years. Can you deal with this? Yeah, no problem. Okay. What's the cost when we start? And so I told him the price, and he said, no, told him what I charge. And he said, okay, that's ridiculous. And we're talking about a billionaire here, okay? Okay. That's ridiculous. But hey, you can do this. It's worth it. I said, yes, I can. And it will be worth it. But you're going to have to do what I tell you, not you telling others. And so he flew to Vancouver, and we worked together, and all of a sudden, boom, it was like this staggering, well, actually, numbers. Okay, numbers. They were at 6.8 billion, I think it was at the time. And when I left, they were at 68 billion. They were the second highest in the world. And most of it was from working just with Jim. Like think about it. That's how powerful we are. And I'm saying these things only because of these are ways to measure. There's ways to measure the shift that takes place, but also this, whatever it is that's going on in our system. So I had a doctor that had cancer for 25 years. She had 5 different cancers. She just had one cancer, and she'd get over that, and she had another one. So for all of that time, she had cancer. And she was sent to me by somebody, and she come in with this arrogance. You know, who are you? Hey, listen, lady, I don't care who you are. This is what I do, and you don't have to take this. I'm not begging you. Okay, I'm going to do it, but, and anyway, so we started. And she was really, really, really tough. And the next thing you know, 2 weeks later, there was no trace of cancer. After her going 25 years. Like, how crazy is that? And she had Jamie talking about the intellect, and her, okay, well, how does this work? Like, you know, where'd the cancer go? And like all of the, like the medical. Now it's in the medical. It's kind of like Glenn Sather with the hockey, you know, like trying to intellectualize what's going on. Well, there isn't an intellectualizing what's going on. We're either in our stuck state, our okay, medium running, you know, just coasting state, or in our super who we truly are. Now, I was talking to someone just today, and the whole idea behind this is, and I got a new business card made up while I was in Dubai, actually, and on it is like, we're going from the beliefs, both negative and positive, of who we think we are. Get that? Negative and positive beliefs of who we think we are, into the knowing of who we truly are. And coming back to the pro athlete, because that extraction, whether it's this state, or this state, is that coding that you're doing subconsciously, that you do not know what you're doing or how you're doing that. And so that's what that is like extracting that. Extracting. And now I don't usually go to that level anymore because I can just see it and just I'm into cutting corners, and it's like, okay, come on, are you ready? Boom, boom, boom. And then these magical things happen. Because what we're doing is now, like I talked to someone today. Do you want to know how simple this is? Do you want to know how simple this is? Do you know the color of your eyes? Do you know that? Now, there's a 99 ivory soap, 99 and 9/10 sure that you know the color of your eyes. Okay? Well, guess what? That's you. That the eyes represents who you truly are. You don't need to be told they're blue or they need to be this, you do this with them or whatever. Like, you just know. You just know. Like, I didn't have to show Dougie Waite how to play his best game. I just extracted the coding of how he was doing it. And he didn't have to remember that. I rewired his nervous system. I didn't get him to think differently. I got him to rewire his system, and the thinking followed. So it's not a thinking program. It's a rewiring program. And what happens is, like Jamie talked about the narcissism. Well, all that is this extreme way of dealing with the world. And I am going to fight you. I'm going to do everything I can to harm you before you harm me. All of that stuff. And what this is about is finding that coding and showing you what you are doing to you. And so this lady today that I talked with, and she's a dear, dear friend of mine. Actually, I believe she's on the call, I thought Jamie said. And we did some amazing things together with shifting the global consciousness. The global consciousness. And talk about a lady that was in her light. It was absolutely stunning. And that's the beauty of this, running into these people with these gifts and seeing them. And yet, even with all of that we did together, and she gave it up and went into a dark, dark place and then come back out. And so it is up to us. That's why this divine focus and this daily, okay, you got to reconnect, got to reconnect. So I mentioned in my call yesterday that I had a wall, this wall behind me, and I had all of these, what I deem miracles, and all that happened of these crazy, crazy things. And it shows up mostly in the physical, like in the physical realm, like that Joshua, the very next day after being in this walker for, was it 3 years or 5 years or something? 4 years. And the very next day, walking with the walker, throws it away and runs. You saw it. Now, I didn't guarantee before we started that would happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have none. Here's what I know. I know how to extract that worst game, the average game, and who we truly are. And who we truly are. There is no intellectual understanding. There isn't, this is what you have to do. No, you've already done it. You have that coding inside. So like Jamie said, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not giving you a damn thing. I'm not giving you one damn thing. I'm just showing you that your eyes are blue or brown or hazel or green or whatever. Because that represents the knowing of who you are. And like the pro athlete, like the Dougie Weight, I'm telling you, when his blades touched the ice for the first time after we worked together, he was flying. After all this time, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, because there was one where he was, when he got the injury, then he had his operation, then it was healing, and then it was not finishing the healing. And all of a sudden it's gone. Now, what's that sound like? And that's what I'm talking about. No, I did not say, Dougie, you know what? I'm going to work with you and this is what's going to happen. Nada. So I don't know what you are going to do with this transformation. I have no idea, and there's no promises. It's like, okay, you show up, because I'm going to call you on everything, like Jamie. Like, okay, bud, we're dealing with narcissism here, so get your shit together and decide whether you're going to keep it or be in your light. Because you can't, I'm going to ask you, can you have both? Can you have both? That's what I asked him on that seawall in Cabo San Lucas. Says, I'm not effing around with you anymore. You're either going to do it my way or it's the highway. And that narcissism, you have to decide whether you're going to keep it or your divinity. And that's how I play. I don't F around. I've got time. I haven't got time for games. This is too serious. And when I'm talking to this friend today and reminding her how beautiful she is and how much we already had done together, and in that light, and why would we not want to be in the best game, using the athlete as the model? Why would we not want to be in that best game? And there's that ego saying, it can't be, and that wasn't, like I'm talking about a player going on the ice or skiing down the mountain or swimming or whatever. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, and I haven't told anyone this. Literally haven't told anyone. And I haven't got any proof of what I'm going to say to be true. But I work with an Olympic swimmer. And I would put it in the category of the narcissism, the narcissist. And what happened was, it was so extreme from the negative to the positive that 3 months after we worked together, she had a single vehicle car accident and killed herself. Now, I have no proof of what I'm going to say. None. But I know that was her way out. That the ego had twisted her so bad after she took my process and actually drove her to killing herself. That's how. I don't have any proof of that. Don't have any proof. I just intuitively know that was happening. And so that's how that ego can really twist. And most 95% get twisted to not taking the process. Jamie was an anomaly in regards to, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And then it was like, I'm getting away from this guy, I'm getting away from this guy, I'm getting away from this guy. Like that's how that works. And there are those 3 codes. There's my worst day, my average day, and my very, very, very best day. And that very, very, very best day is the color of your eyes. Imagine that. And so how much effort is it, in my case, to keep my eyes blue? Like how much? Tell me how much effort it takes for me to keep my eyes blue. And that's what I'm talking about. That's you. And that's your best day, your best performance. It's who you truly are. It's not a belief of who you think you are. It's not like, oh, I'm good enough today. No, I'm not good enough. Oh, I am good enough. No, neither one of those. Those are beliefs. They're all beliefs to this knowing of who we truly are. And that's why I do a muscle test on the knowing of who the person is. I cannot fudge that arm. I can't. And yet I can take my pinky finger to a pro athlete and put their arm down in their stuckness. How crazy is that? And that's how powerful we are. And we can get rid. I'm going out on a limb and saying all of your physical symptoms are because of you operating from the toxic program. Everyone, no matter who they are. And I mentioned one, I think it was last night or the night before, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And it was this guy that had prostate cancer. And he had a bulge in his stomach, in his intestines or whatever. And once again, I paid only a small amount of attention to this stuff because that's not important. What's important to me is getting that person into their light. That's it. But he had a bulge so big of cancer in his stomach that they couldn't get the colonoscopy through or something. And once again, I'm poor at remembering that kind of stuff. And anyway, he took my program. And within 3 weeks, it was like 3/4 or 7/8 gone. And then the medical decided that he needed to have all of his other things going on because they couldn't explain it. And the next thing they know, they killed him with these drugs. He literally died from the drugs they gave him after he almost didn't have any. And that was only 2 days. 2 days difference that this dramatic shift change happened of it shrinking, this big bulge of cancer shrinking, him being in his light. But anyway, they had 2 boys. One was, he was either 8 or 10, and then the youngest was 5. And the 5-year young had Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome. Now, I had never heard tell of Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome. No idea whatsoever. But I'm not into the medical. I'm into the showing someone what they have and how they create it and how to get rid of it. Okay? So anyway, the wife, the mother of the child, the wife of the husband kept saying, Don, would you do something with my son? I said, you know what? You know, I've never even heard tell of Rubinstein. I don't know. She said, listen, Don, just do what you do. I'm not holding you to anything. And he could only say, let me see, 3 words, and they could only sit for 5 seconds. Okay, 3 words, 5 seconds. And he is 5. So anyway, I worked with him. Said, okay, if you'll just stop bugging me about this, even though I'm not, I have no idea where this is going to go. I've never done this before, but I will. So I work with him. And I come back, I think it was 8 days later, 8 or 10. And here he was. He recited the alphabet. And he sat there for 2 hours and 20 minutes beside his mom as I worked with his dad. Never budged. Imagine that. Like, that's how much power we have. And we're using it for that worst game, to create the worst game, and we keep repeating the worst game. Imagine being a skier or a hockey player or a swimmer or a whatever, and you're going to do your sport in your worst state. Well, you're walking around in your worst state, and you're creating that worst state. You're creating that yourself. Now, this is not meant to, I'm going to go and beat myself up because I'm doing this crazy thing. No, it's like, wow, do I have this much power? Do I have this much power? I'm going to tell you, you do have this much power. You do. I changed the weather 68 times. I had these cards, and I mentioned them yesterday, and most of them were about this size. And I would put the header up here, and then I would put the story here. And I did that, and I had my whole wall. I had my whole wall. There was 106 or 108 of these cards with these miracles that I did, or people allowed me to do with them. 106 or 108. Can't remember those kind of details. And they were staggering. And some of them had 50 examples in them. So there was more like 300 of these, what you, using your intellect, would deem as a miracle. But you're the miracle. You're the miracle. And all you need to do is to chip the coating of your being in your worst day into your best day. And when you do that, it's like that bulge in the intestine, you know, or when you're going to have a big crap and it's just gone. It's gone. And that's how simple it can be. And so how I do that is get the person to answer questions. And it's a questionnaire, the I Am Divinity questionnaire. And in that, you are pulling out this story that you created that's not true. You only think it's true. And it's the ego twisting you and turning you against you. Just like the beautiful lady that I talked to today. And she got so twisted. And yet, so beautiful. So beautiful with her in her light. And her getting back to that being in her light. And that's what it is going from, whether it's the 5-year young with Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome, or the pro athlete, or the person with multiple symptoms. And one of the ones that stands out for me is, and this is crazy, like just crazy things. I get a call from this lady, and they're friends of mine. They became friends. She said, yeah, we're in the hospital. And this was in Vancouver. We're in the hospital, and we found out that my husband, I can't remember their names right now. And he's got a bulge, in his chest wall, so big that he's not leaving the hospital. He's not going to make it. I want you to come and see him. You're not allowed visitors, but let's see if I can sneak you in. And so I go out to Surrey, go to this hospital, and the doctor comes in and checks him. And when he leaves, I snuck in, and excuse my language, but when a life is on the line, I don't mess around. I said, listen, man, you've been fucking around now for 6 months. You won't do what I want you to do. And now you got about 2 days to live. Now, what are you going to do? You going to fucking die? Or are you going to get rid of your shit? And he was not supposed to leave that hospital. 10 days later, they drove to Mexico. How crazy is that? All the cancer gone. Okay? Did I do that? I assisted in them doing that. That's what I didn't go on the ice with Dougie Waite for him to get 2 goals and an assist. What I did was I cleaned out the system with him allowing it to go. And that big balls that the kid with Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome, his father, let that go. And what pissed me off was the medical upped the chemicals they put in his body instead of reducing the chemicals in his body. Yeah. So I'm pissed at that. I really am. And that's the kind of thing that I'm here to change, the shift. And whether it's the narcissism that Jamie had, or whether it's the Rubinstein-Tabby syndrome, or the cancer, or the whatever the crippling effect of Joshua, or whatever. And you know, coming back to, I'll tell you, there's 3 financial pieces that happened with 3 different people. One was on Saturday, one was on Sunday, and one was on Thursday. Okay, so we're talking like 5 days. So one of them, Trevor and I were, my son, we were at teeing off the 3rd tee box in Furry Creek, and I get a call. This Jim. Yeah, what's going on? La 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 la. I said, okay, you ready? And I said, how much time do we have to change this? And Jim said, got to be back in the meeting in 8 minutes. I said, okay, you ready? And boom. Boom. 6 minutes later, we were done. Hung up the phone. Before that call, Jim had authorized a check to be written for $1.2 billion. Did you hear that? $1.2 billion. And then he said, he was in the meeting and he said, I got to go. I said, where are you going? We got to sign this. He said, I'll be right back. And that's when he called me. Told me what was going on. 6 minutes later, we hung up. He walked back into the meeting and said, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way. That 6-minute phone call saved him $615 million. That same week, the CFO came to see me. It was on a Wednesday or Thursday. Okay. Told me what was going on. And I said, and as I extracted it, I got this information. He had 2 contracts he was trying to secure for, what was it? 2 for 6 months, 1 for 9 months, and 1 for a year. totaling $250 million. So with no results. 250 million, 0 results. 2 for 6 months, 1 for 9 months, 1 for a year. And so we were staying in, I would rent this chalet up in Whistler, and they would come out and work with me there. Anyway, get up the next morning. I had a chef on and was making breakfast and said, Don, I got to tell you something. I said, what, James? Tell me. He said, you know those 4 contracts that I talked about? Yeah, I secured all 4 of them this morning in 40 minutes, worth in excess of 250 million. Okay, so now we got a 650 million. We got a 250 million. And then on Thursday, one of the guys in the group, he had a meeting on Thursday. And he was the head of all the United States for their BlackBerry phone, for sales for all of the states. And he had a meeting on Thursday, and they said, we're not carrying your product anymore. We're not carrying your product. And anyway, in his light, he turned that all around. They purchased what they were going to purchase, and another amount after, totaling 250 million. So there's 3 guys, 615 million, 250 million, and 250 million. Okay, like this is what I'm talking about, whether it's removing your cancer or allowing it to flow through your body after you deal with the cause, whether it's the little 5-year-old with Rubin-Tabby syndrome, whether it's the billionaire, whatever, or whether it's the Joshua. But like Jamie said, what was crazy about that is that he stopped doing what he needed to do and went back into his wheelchair or his walker, whatever. Now tell me how crazy that is. And so it's those crazy ways you have of processing information that's creating these programs in your system. You are doing that. Now, that's not to make you feel guilty or bad or any of that for doing it. I'm trying to get you to take ownership, say, okay, Don, let's do this. If I did this, let's do this to not have this. Done. Done. Okay? And just like Jamie flew into Vancouver from Mexico and said, you know, when can we start? So I'll meet you in an hour. And I told him, he asked me what he had to do to be prepared. And he was flying into Vancouver. I said, don't sleep. Don't sleep. That's your your medication for the day. Don't sleep. Because I knew what kind of a wrestling match I was going to be in for. And I knew that I needed to have him exhausted, so his narcissism wouldn't be the winner at the end of the day. And it wasn't. It lost, but he brought it back. And that's the key. There's that bringing it back, because now the ego has twisted the story. And many, many times, Jamie's right, finding something wrong with Don. Finding something wrong with Don. Don said this, or Don did that, and you know this, and it's like, or whether I got blue eyes instead of green eyes, like there's no logic to it. There's no logic to this. It's the ego trying to survive. Trying to survive. And coming back, after Jamie had a few of these hits, and I met him on the seawall, I said, okay, bud, listen, this is your last chance. I'm not fucking around with you anymore. You're either going to do it this time or you're on your own. And I don't mess around. And I call a spade a spade. And this is very serious business. Even though there's lots of laughter at times. Very serious. Because to me, we're meant to be in our light. We're meant to be in our light. That's what we're here for. And our symptoms are telling us we're not in our light. It's that simple. And we're meant to be in this beautiful divine energy that we are. And that's at 700 to 1,000. Now, I have a plan. And there's some people on this plan with me. And what it is to raise humanity's consciousness to 700. That's my plan. And now this is Dr. Hawkins. You can check it out. One person at 1,000 is enough to raise all 8 billion to 700. Think about that. Like, what? Like what? Like what? And that's no different than Glenn Sather questioning me or Dougie Waite questioning me or anyone else with their stories questioning me. But coming back, it's this simple. My eyes are blue. And I had them green and brown and all of that, metaphorically, through all of this time of me unpacking my own programs. And it took me 44 years to get to where I'm at today. 44 years, not 44 hours, 44 weeks or days, 44 years. This didn't work, and trying that and reverse engineering this and, you know, all of that. And I used me as the guinea pig. I was the guinea pig for this. What worked and what didn't work and all of that. And so anyway, there you have it. It's like you're in charge. And if you're walking into this, thinking about this in a lukewarm, oh, maybe I'll put my toe in the ocean to see, forget it, stay home. Like just forget it, stay home. You won't have enough of what you need to say, fuck you, ego. You won't have it. And it will take you down. Okay? And I need people that will just, I'm going to do this. And when I said to Jamie on that seawall, you damn well better do what I want you to do this time, bud, because this is your last chance. And he did. And that's what I do. And so, you know, I know there's a couple of ladies on the call that had some really powerful experiences. There's many on the call. And there's many that had these amazing, staggeringly beautiful experiences and then give them up. Like, how crazy is that? How crazy is that? And now what we're looking for is this group of those that want to get to 700, even though everybody says it's impossible and I'm way out there and it can't be done and all of those things. I don't believe any of that bullshit. I don't pay any attention to it. I know what 700 looks like and I know what 1,000 looks like. And I know that we can together, collectively, raise humanity's consciousness to 700. Mathematically, math was my best subject in school. Math and science. And I'm telling you, mathematically, I know how to do this. And I am, as much as you're searching for an answer, I'm searching for the person that wants to be in their divinity at 700 to 1,000. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I trust you're one of those. Because we could have this over with really, really quickly. There's a guy, he's all he is a physical manifestation of the ego, the demon, the devil, the whatever. Okay. And when I had read his story, and I'm thinking, I am so pissed. Like, you're not getting away. You're just not getting away with this. I'm going into the ring with you. I'm going into the ring with you, and I'm taking you down. But not in the way of a fist fight. I'm taking you down, so I'm going to immerse you in light. And you on this call can be one of those ones that's going to immerse darkness. And that's all it is. That's all it is darkness. Because we are pure light. I prove it every day when I work with someone. They're pure light. They're shining. They're bright can be. They're as bright as the sun. And that's what we do. And so I'm looking for those that want to go to 700 plus, as much as you're looking for the answer to your darkness. Okay? So there you have it. I look forward to you being on our call, our transformation that we're doing in, I don't know, Jamie's got the dates. And but I'm telling you, you show up with, I'm doing this, not I'm going to see if it might work for me, if nothing's worked yet. No, none of that bullshit. That's all ego. Every ounce of that's ego. It's like, I'm in or I'm not. Yes, no, shut that door, open that door. That's it. And if you come with that, then expect to be challenged. Expect to be challenged on your bullshit, on your illusions, on your toxic beliefs, both negative and positive. And then I'm going to do what Michelangelo did with the statue of David. I'm going to carve away all of your beliefs, both negative and positive, of who you think you are. And you're going to be left with your magnificence. Now, what kind of a trade is that? Okay? So here's your chance. You get sincere, and you get, don't bother coming if it's, I'm not sure if this will work for me. No, just stay home. Just stay home. Okay? I'm talking about, I'm in. I want to be clear of this shit. I want to be clear of these programs and patterns that are running my life. I don't want the ego to be in charge of my life for another second. Okay? That's where you need to be. I am deciding to be in my light. I'm going to do whatever this guy tells me. And we're done. Take us a couple hours. Yeah. You can have it all and you can keep it. Or you can have it all and give it away. But let's start with you keeping it. Okay? So I'll see you in a couple of weeks. It's a pleasure chatting with you. I would have much rather an interaction and see your face and ask you questions and all of that. But the biggest thing will be the questionnaire that you will receive, to use complete and total honesty in that questionnaire. That's where we find out how you put this puzzle together. There's a German company that has a puzzle. It's 40,000 pieces. There's a lady put it together. It took her a year. Okay? And that's kind of what we're looking at. Is this 40,000 piece puzzle that you've got the chimney of the house in the toilet of the outhouse. Okay? And you got all of these things all like mixed up and all over the place. And that's the ego trying to stay in charge of you so it can control you. And even after you take the process and you're in your light, it's going to try to control you to stop doing what I give you to do, which is a very simple exercise called divine focus. After everything is done, I'm going to finish off with this. Okay? And I talked about this last night. It's important, really important, to get you out of your effing head and listen to your intuition and make the decision from there. So the question is, do you have a phobia, or do you know of someone that does have a phobia? For those of you that do have a phobia, how long did it take for you to create that phobia? And if you don't know the answer, I'm going to give you the answer. 1 second. That was how long it took to create your phobia. And I've had people, I had a guy come, I was in Prince Edward Island. This guy came from Toronto. He spent 10 years in psychoanalytical therapy. Okay, 10 years with his phobias. Met him at 10 o'clock. We were done at 11:15. They were all gone. Okay? Like, it's not an intellectual program. It's a neurological and cellular program. I rewire the nervous system and reprogram the 100 trillion cells in your body that you're telling to eat away at you for this or that, because that's what the ego does. It gets you to be small and play small, or this big, gigantic ego. Either one of those, and anywhere in between. And this is about you being in your divine light. I'm going to show you how to get there. And I'm going to show you, like Dougie Waite, clean up all of the toxicity of his worst game. Skip your average game, because we're not doing average here. And to be in your divinity. That's what we're doing. You decide and show up with 1,000% commitment, and it will happen. Have yourself a wonderful evening, day, morning, whatever it is.
Well, I, for one, was a walking phobia. Phobia of intimacy, phobia of my light, phobia of death, phobia of success, phobia of failure, phobia of rejection. I mean, come on. Infinite list. Of course, I wasn't aware of any of those until after I overcame them, interestingly enough. Yeah, a narcissist definitely doesn't have anything wrong with them. So anyway, that was amazing as always. So we'll have Dawn on my birthday, because there's nothing that I would rather do on my birthday than to spend it with you beautiful divine beings and showing you the ocean of who you truly are. So that's what we're going to do February 7th. We'll figure out the times and all that and make sure you guys are aware. We'll send it out. I want to bring up our special guest before we let you go. Even though I ruined the surprise because I'm terrible at keeping secrets these days. I always had to remind Dawn, I'm like, if you don't want me to tell us, make sure you tell me, because I'm about to go live, you know, like every time you tell me something. Let me turn the live off. Okay, go ahead. You know. But I want to bring Nua up, who flew all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah. He's I don't know, 16-hour flight, just landed a few hours ago, and I'd like to hear his perspective of these crazy aliens that he's gotten to hang out with for the last few hours. So Nua, come on up, bud. Whoop whoop, you got a fan club. Vanessa says whoop whoop, Nua.
Thank
You got a mic?
James.
Oh,
Yes, I do.
wow, you
I
mic'd
do.
up. All right, you go ahead, bud.
What's up, guys? I'm finally here. I'm so excited to be here. I had to pinch myself earlier because this is my first time being outside of the country since '94. But actually, I went in last year, 2022, 23. But before then, it was '94 before I left the country, and it was to my own country, the islands of Tonga. And due to this man right here, now I've been watching this, guys. For those of you that don't know, I've been watching for him for over 10 to 12 months. And as I watched his journey, I watched the high, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for whatever reason, I just felt like I need to hold on to this guy, even when things were ugly, because that's when you can really test your friends, right? Or the people that follow you, or your loved ones, your family, is when things hit the fan, you look around and see who's next to you, right? And those are the people you want to keep close to you. Well, when things hit the fan with Jamie, and those of you probably were part of that in Nation at the time, now IAMDIVINITY, everyone left. They just fled. Whatever reason, I held on to him. Even I had some friends that were in his program, and they said, Nua, just, yeah, he's done. It's a rug pull. It's whatever. I put whatever, and I'm done. I'm gone. I said, okay, that's your experience. But for whatever reason, I didn't delete the Telegram group or whatever it was. You know, I still held on, and I'm so glad I did, because 4 weeks or just a couple weeks ago, I was on this call and I was just kind of giving Jamie and the Income Nation team their flowers, and he gifted me and blessed me with the opportunity to come out here, which is a chance of a lifetime. Because being around these guys just in the short time, and forgive me, I am like sleep deprived. I've been up for over 36 hours. I was sitting there trying to count how many hours I've been up, and I lost count after 36. So it's been a long trip. It was a 15-hour flight just from San Francisco to Manila. Then it's another hour-and-a-half flight from there to here to Davao, the beautiful country of Philippines. And to see the man, Mr. Don Smith. If you guys got a gem from this guy, please drop a 1 in the chat. Drop a 1 in the chat if you felt the power of what Don was talking about, and the privilege that we get to have by having Don part of this team. But I want to go back to me keeping Jamie on my radar. And I'm so glad I did, because then a couple of weeks ago, he gifted me with that. No one's ever done that for me. You know, I looked up the flights. It's a cost to get out here. It's time, it's money, it's away from the family. But I knew that I needed to do something different. I needed to do something that I've never done before. I needed to change. I needed to reinvent who I was, because I need to get different results. And the only way to do that is surrounding myself around people that I see value in, meeting people that I know have an extreme amount of value that I want to be a part of. And the first time Jamie came and met me, this is about as pink as I get. It's the only thing close to pink that I have in my wardrobe. He got out of the car, came pick me up, and I gave him a big old hug and thanked him, and showing gratitude for me being here. So I'm on my journey. And the reason I say this is for you guys who are kind of teeter-tottering whether you want to be part of this community, this family, is don't give up. As cliche as that may sound, because I almost did. And if I did, I wouldn't be here today. All I had to do was delete the Telegram group or write Jamie and the whole Income Nation Now I am divinity. I could have easily wrote it off and I wouldn't be here. But something in me knew there was something in him that I wanted to be a part of. So tap in every single day now. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you so much, Sam, the whole team, the guys behind the camera. And thank you so much, Mr. Don Smith. I appreciate everything that you do and are going to do, not only for me. I told this to Jamie. I said, it's not only for me, but when you change me or I help change myself through you guys, it's literally going to change a whole nation. I was born in America, but my heritage is Tongan. Most of you guys probably don't know where that's at. It's a small little speck. It's a little dirt. It's a little dot on the map. We may be small in the size of our country, but we're big in our impact on others. And I want to continue that impact to my people of Tonga, my Polynesian people, and to everyone that I come in contact with. Basically do what these guys do. But in order to do that, I need to help it fix me. Thank you, Jamie. Love you guys all. Appreciate you, man. I'm in the Philippines.
Well, as I told you guys at the beginning, when I spilled the secret, the first thing Nua said to me is, man, I came for my divinity. I said, man, you didn't have to go that far. But it's awesome having him with us. And I could just feel his energy on the last couple calls that he was just so ready for this. And I saw my my past self in it when or in him, I should say, when I told you the story of Jason sponsoring me and then giving into his ego and not following through. This time I got to gift Nua with what I had hoped back then and still found a way. But yeah, super excited for him. He's just got here and we've just been telling him to get out of his intellect all day. But but he's getting there. Anyway, thanks for being with us. Sam, do you want to share anything before we go? And we'll see you guys February 7th. Don't know the time yet. I want to call out Janet if she's still on the call, actually. Janet, are you still on the call? Do you want to come on the call and just share your experience with Don? I know you flew all the way out to Philippines, which totally pissed off Josh Quay because he was supposed to work with Don back when Joshua Gabby did, the one in the walker. He literally drove to Don for both of them to take the program, and then Joshua gets out of the car and Josh Quay just takes off. So I gotta handle something, and he completely cancels on Don. And I was bugging him about how you, Janet, were so ready and saw so much value in just the Zoom you had with Don that you actually flew all the way to the Philippines, because Josh Quay has been telling me since Don and I were in Mexico like 3 years ago that I'm coming out, man, I'm coming out, and he hasn't left Canada yet. So shout out to Josh though. We're waiting for you, buddy. Anyway, Janet, if you're still with us, love to have you on.
Yeah, hi.
There
How's
she
it going?
is.
Yeah, so to share my story about meeting Don.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I didn't, it's kind of similar like you. Like I had a call with Don, and I've done so much personal development work in the last so on years, and I still felt like something was missing, and that I always end up, quotations, used to self-sabotage myself, and I didn't know why. And I was already kind of in that area. I was in Dubai, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know why, but I have to see Don. I don't even know what I'm going to get out of it. I don't even know what's going to happen, but I just have to go. And sure enough, it was only supposed to be an 8-hour flight from Dubai to Manila, and I end up missing 2 flights 24 hours later, and I finally make it to Davao. And I was ready to go home. At that point, spiritually, energetically, I'm like, okay, this is a big sign that this is not a good idea. I'm meeting a stranger danger man that I don't even know. I talked to him on Zoom, sure, but who knows he could be in a third world country with all this human trafficking. Like so many thoughts going through my head. I didn't even tell Don that, but that was the ego. It was so loud. And um I listened to my gut and I still showed up. And yeah, it was definitely something that I can't explain. It's almost like everything I've ever done almost meant nothing, and I didn't even it's just not something I can put into words, and that's why I needed to be on here today, just hearing Dawn again, hearing you and being in this conversation. Yeah, and so since then I haven't actually drank. I used to be a very functional alcoholic. I used to love drinking at the end of the day, traveling and drinking. And I guess I have a lot more phobias than I thought. Um, and like, yeah, it's just making decisions, especially drinking, and being so free with it. I'm not missing out for once. And I'm actually excited to discover, like I'm discovering right now, but like how life looks like in a sober lens, and actually having fun doing the same things without the booze. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And yeah, the ego does come and the ego leaves, but it's so quick to snap out of it now. Yeah.
Awesome, Janet. Kudos to you. Congratulations. That's I know that firsthand. It's like, wow, I've been drunk almost every day since I was 16. It's like I'm living a whole new world after giving it up.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, and the ego finds all the ways of, oh well, you made a deal today, so you got to celebrate or whatever. Oh,
Exactly.
Friday now. Oh, we just got it's payday. What I like seriously. And so there's always something to drink to. Especially when you're traveling, I found that out pretty quick. It's like, okay, well now I'm just on vacation 24/7, so that's that's a reason to drink. But congratulations, Janet. I'm super happy for you, and it was great to see your commitment and getting through all those knot holes. I remember you were saying that you were literally in the airport waiting for the flight, and you missed two of them, like in the airport.
While
So
sitting there next to the gate,
that's
making sure
great.
I don't miss it.
I love it. Well, amazing. Excited to have you back here for Kingdom Arena in April.
What? Oh, okay. Well,
You didn't know about that one? Davao
Like-
City's, well, the world's largest indoor arena is just getting finished built in Davao, and it's pink and purple, and we're going to be the first ones doing an event there, 75,000 people, so that's going to be fun.
well, it looks like we're going to Davao in April.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for sharing, Janet. Sam, you want to come on and wrap her up? Great to see all of you again. We will see you tomorrow, same time. And
there goes Jamie just volunteering people. She volunteered Don to do the event on February 7th. We'll figure out the times, and he just volunteered you, Janet. So we'll see you then. We had a couple of people kind of asking about the financial stuff, which is so boring, but yeah, we obviously still do have some human kind of activities that we do. So if you guys want to make some money, yeah, we do obviously have an affiliate program as well. So what I wanted to talk about is just the easiest way to really share to share this program with people is just invite them on these daily calls. We're literally here every single night for us, mornings for you guys in the US, and just share this live. You're already here. What I would suggest is, before you hop on, just share it with 5 friends. Get people on these Zoom calls, get them on the Facebook Live or whatever stream you want to get them on. And we're going to be, right now everything is free, so take advantage until February the 1st. We'll be putting the actual value of the program then. So just take advantage. I've had, like, literally in the last couple of days, I've had a couple of buddies David was on yesterday. He shared his testimony, crazy testimony. I had another buddy named Gilbert. He was just telling me how he's done like all of the spiritual stuff, all of the personal development. He was actually arguing with me for a couple of days. And then he experienced the process for himself, and he's like, dude, I was like on the floor and I had like a full body orgasm. So if you want to experience that, I mean, it honestly doesn't put it into words. Like, I just like we get a massage. Like, we've got a massage literally every single night the last 4 days, and I just like look over at Jamie, and he's just like, yeah. I mean, I can't even put this into words. You just have to experience it for yourself. I mean, literally, if you want to put it into a word, it's literally a miracle. And that's who you are. And so we're just excited to be here with you guys, excited to share this beautiful energy with you all, which, it really wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Mr. Don, and he said something which really made me think, is like, you can't be lukewarm about this. You can't just dip your toe in the ocean, right? You need to jump all in. And the reason why I'm here is because I was in so much pain. I shared this at the beginning, like a couple months ago, I was literally suicidal. And, as you can tell, we're literally laughing half the time, or more than half the time, literally like 90% of the day. And someone on this call is probably dealing with something. You've probably been sick and tired of how things are going, and you've probably been asking for a sign, or you've been looking for the answer to your quote unquote prayers. And so I just want you to know that you're here for a reason. You created this, and so take advantage. I mean, we say this every time. There's not really much more to say. You heard all the stories of Dawn and all the the cancer, and the different athletes, and for the people that still worship money as their god, like the freaking all the money, the 250 million contract here, 250 million contract there, the 615 million contract there, right? Like, I mean, there's not really much more to say. It's just taking a chance on yourself and jumping and being all in. So with that being said, thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you want to put some money in your piggy bank, we'll have Mr. Will, our COO, drop the link here in the chat, and we'll help you guys make some money hand-free. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, good night, muchachos.